Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hello, I'm Weiry Writer.
Also joining us is Grace. Hello.
Hello, I'm Gatorgirl.
Also joining us is Evgeni.
I am Argent from the Silver Sea. There's no Silver Sea. From the Sun Sea.
Yes.
We don't know there's not a Silver Sea.
That's true.
We don't? Yeah, you're right.
That's true.
I'm canonizing it now.
Yeah, sure. And also joining us, we have Jessie.
Hello, I'm Lady Lameness, and as Eric pointed out to me earlier, I am apparently from the Emerald Sea because my dress is green. And this is totally planned, guys.
Yes. And lastly, we have Veronica.
Hey, I'm Cheyenne Sedai, and Crimson Sea, I guess.
Yeah, sure. And I am Chaos, and this week, everyone, we are talking about Secret Project 1, which is called Tress of the Emerald Sea, so that's going to be in the title. So that's what it's going to be. The cover is going to be the thumbnail. That's what it is. The book's out. And
doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we finally get to talk about it. But do we have any show and tell that doesn't suck, Evgeni?
Oh,
I have a dragon.
Can you take that back?
Can you bring the dragon
I can show you
closer? I can't actually see it at all.
My favorite mug.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess if we're showing off mugs, like I have a frozen mug.
Wow.
That dragon.
Yeah,
okay,
that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Nice.
I think Ian wins for best show and tell.
I absolutely
Yes.
agree. 100%.
I can go get a brush for my hair.
Very relevant to the topic.
It is. So why don't we just get right into it and do some quick spoiler-free thoughts? And I don't know, we'll just go in order. Ian, go.
Yeah.
It's really good. I love it. I love it so much. It's way better than Lost Metal.
Yeah.
That's my spoiler-free thoughts.
Grace, thoughts?
I also really loved it, but unlike Ian, I don't like ranking Brandon books, so.
Oh, okay. So don't put you in a tier list video. That may or may not. I mean, I'm sure we'll do.
I'll tier list. I'll do the tier list Cosmere Dads video. I don't want to do tier list.
Okay.
I'll do the tier list in Cosmere Dads.
There were a lot of comments like, "Oh my god, you have to do a Cosmere Dads tier list episode." So that'll probably happen.
Hey, spoiler alert! It's bottom heavy.
Put it at the S tier.
Yeah. We've got a new dad even too here, so works great.
Oh, he's up there. He's just right up there, guys.
S tier.
Oh, good.
Well, we can talk about that. Evgeni, spoiler-free thoughts.
I very much like this book, and it's a weird book for Brandon in terms of style, but I find that it works well. I don't think I would want like a lot of these in the Cosmere, but I would love a few here and there. Has a very, very nice, very pleasant, very cozy, comforting and comfortable vibe.
Yes.
You know when people talk about like having a comfort read book? I've never really had one before, but Brandon just provided me one wrapped up in a neat little package that'll turn up at my house in the next couple of weeks, probably. And this is the best book Brandon has ever written. I will die on this hill. Come fight me. Or I don't know, we can sit and sing Kumbaya or something. I think this book is great. And it brought me back to having a Cosmere book as my favorite Brandon book. Skyward has been pushed down to number 2, but oh man, did this book really give me everything I wanted. Everything.
Nice.
Veronica.
I really like this book, and I like the departure in style for Brandon too. I like him experimenting and doing different things. The voice was really nice. Again, that comforting, like warm blanket feel. I really enjoyed it. I don't know, I want to see Brandon experimenting more, like not all the time, but it'd be like nice to see more variety in the Cosmere.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I also agree this book is excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think Lost Metal was too long, and this book was like a really nice length for this, and so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the style that it was in, and I agree. It's nice to see Brandon experiment, right? I love Tress, the character. I love the fairy tale vibes. We got some Cosmere stuff. Nice. And yeah, no, it is just thoroughly fun, which Brandon's always pretty good at starting a new Cosmere thing, right? He's pretty good at that. Yeah, it's nice to see something that's not like just endless Mistborn or Stormlight sequels, which obviously I want to see, but like you can't change the style there. Like you just cannot do that, right? So you have to do it in some other series, right? So I love Tress. What a lovely book. I heartily recommend it to a lot of people. I think maybe this is a hot take, but I think this actually is a pretty good intro Cosmere book.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get all the references and the super casual Cosmere stuff, but you don't need to.
Yeah, it's just fun. If this vibe works for people, then you can say, all right, well, now there's a Cosmere book like this. The rest of the Cosmere is not like this at all, but you know.
This is kind of like I wish I could introduce people with Alloy of Law, because it's just like a fun, lighthearted book. And you just can't do that because it's book 1 of Era 2 and has all the spoilers for Era 1. And most people actually care about those things.
Yeah.
And now we have something
that do it.
Yeah, there are people that do it and they really like it. And now we kind of have another version of that where it's like this is a relatively short, for Brandon, quick, easy read that is fun and lighthearted and not too in-depth or anything. And like it is a good intro, and Brandon does very well at all of the Cosmere things being like, oh, what is this? I want to learn more about this, instead of kind of feeling like you're left out because you don't know. Yeah. And it feels like early Mistborn books are that, where you get the small hints of Cosmere there. I think he's done the same thing here. There's just a little bit more of it.
Yeah, there's definitely more of it, for sure. Cool. Are there any other spoiler-free thoughts, or do we gotta just we probably just gotta get into it, right?
Gotta get
yeah, probably.
Cool. Yeah, I'm probably not doing Secret Project video reviews. I'm busy, so yeah, we'll do podcasts. So let's go into just our initial spoilery thoughts. Obviously, we will go in depth on several things, but maybe we should just go around and talk probably more. I imagine people will have more spoilery thoughts to say than spoiler-free thoughts going around. But Ian, what are your spoilery initial thoughts?
So, there's a few things I want to touch on. One, which is I'm such a sucker for nautical fantasy. It's just a genre I genuinely love, like Age of Sail-esque stuff. It's just so good. I want more of it. So sailing ships, awesome. This book started as soon as I saw sea in the title. I'm like, I think I'm gonna like that book. The fairy tale vibes, obviously, I also love, but something I was just reminded of recently, because I recently watched Rings of Power from Amazon. Really enjoyed that, which has reignited my inner Tolkien fan. So for the past week, I've started listening to The Hobbit again for the first time in a decade and a half. And it's reminding me just how similar Hoyd's narrative style of storytelling meshes with the storytelling style of The Hobbit very well. It's very strong narrative voice of someone is telling you this story. And it's those parallels. Now in retrospect, I'm yes, now I understand why I love this book so much. Because The Hobbit is definitively my favorite book of all time.
Cool. Thoughts?
For those of you who are listeners who don't know this, I am a huge fan of fairy tales. I read a lot of fairy tale retellings. It's maybe like my number one like subgenre that I read. So this, I just really loved all of the like fairy tale vibes. I love Tress as a character. You know, we got the character with like the same hair as me. It's like honey colored and a mess, and I just love it so much. This was one where I just kind of like, despite it being Cosmere, I felt like for the most part I was just kind of like along for the ride and not necessarily thinking about the Cosmere connections, which was really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
To support that, Grace, I'll say that one of the weirdest things when I was reading the book the first time was that out of nowhere there was a talking rat.
Yes.
And that is like, that's not, I did not expect like talking animals in my Cosmere book. And
More likely than you think.
more like it. And it barely phased me. Like there was a brief moment in which I was like, how does that work? And then I'm like, I don't care. This is like, in fairy tales, animals talk all the time. So of course there's going to be a talking rat in here. I'm not going to worry about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, yes, there was an explanation and yada yada. That's the kind of power I think the narrative and the format of this story has. It's just from the very first page, it puts you in this particular mood and it just carries you along for the ride. It just go along with, you know, all of the people on the ship are dogs, right?
Yeah.
And things like that.
Wait, can I say something about the talking rat?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is very, very slight Lost Metal spoilers. So in Lost Metal, there's a scene where Wayne gives Hoyt a rat, and when the talking rat showed up, I was like, "This is that rat! Like something happens to this rat on its adventures with Hoyt, and now it's immortal and can talk, and this is that rat."
Not gonna lie, I also thought up their squeakins.
Yeah.
I saw so many people thinking that, and I wish it was true. Like, despite what happens in Tress, I'm like, man, that's such a good theory.
Excellent. We will do full Cosmere spoilers, by the way, including Lost Metal as, aether stuff, right? You know, so I'm sure it could come up. So, yeah, just so you know.
But I was pleasantly surprised by the breadth of Cosmere lore in this one. We don't go too in depth in most of it. Even aethers, which we spend so much time with, we kind of get the basics down and don't really dig too deep into how they work.
Yeah.
But you ignore those, we have references next to references next to references, and it fits surprisingly well. It's you kind of take all of these in a stride. I mean, yeah, you freak out because dragon, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes, absolutely.
But you kind of take a lot of them in stride because, and I keep coming back to the fairy tale nature of this. In fairy tales, weird things happen all of the time, and so I think our brains are primed to just kind of go with it. Accept that, yeah, there's going to be a Kandra here, and there's going to be an Elantrian here, and there's going to be a dragon here, and we just move on. And that's. It's a really good book, you guys.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Jess, spoilery thoughts.
And okay, so I'm gonna jump off things that both Argent and Ian said. But seeing as Argent was just talking about it, like the whole fairy tale vibe and theme of the book, and like the difference that it makes having it written in a certain way to give off that vibe. Because I had a similar thing when we got to the talking rat. I very much had to pause and go, okay. And I was able to just move on, and it was fine, compared to Skyward, where there's like, I do not think this is a spoiler that Mbot exists, but like Mbot just kind of shows up at some point, and he's a talking spaceship. I hated it. I hated it so much. I didn't like Mbot as a character for so long. because it just didn't fit with the way I had read the story up to that point. Whereas I think with this one, because it had that whimsical fairy tale vibe and like knowing it is a story that Hoyd is telling as well, it's like, okay, this is a Hoyd story as well. So it just kind of fit a lot better. And I didn't have as much of a jarring moment in terms of this thing. There was something else that was very jarring for me. The other thing that Ian mentioned is like having nautical stories. And I love a good pirate book. I love books about being on the ocean, being on boats, being like pirate books and all of that. And I really, 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 really wanted to read a pirate book at the point that I got this book. And it just was everything that I had been wanting before I even kind of knew what I was going to get. And I think that's why I like this book so much, is it just completely filled and like scratched that itch that I had at the time when I got the book. But yeah, there's so many specific things I want to talk about, but this is overall thoughts. So I will probably leave it there. But yeah, just to like full disclosure, like I am one of the betas that got this book a year ago. Merry Christmas to us, because we didn't know what these were at all. We didn't even know if they were books. And I got this one and other people got other ones. And I was very confused because I was the only one who got something different at that point. Then things changed. Because everyone was like, oh, there's more than 2 books. And I actually had to email Brandon's editor back and be like, were you meant to send this to me? Do I have something I'm not meant to have? But no, and yeah, it was exactly the book that I wanted to read. So Peter did very well at choosing which book to send me.
Peter, we had this thing where once everyone got done with their initial book, we could read the other ones. And I think most people were like, the one we got first is the one we like the most. And that was pretty consistent for all 3 of the Cosmere secret projects. The people who got this first, like, this is the best one, clearly, obviously. Also fun that Peter gave Jess and I different ones. Just to troll us. Very deliberately.
I think Brandon said that they gave like all the married couples and the beta readers different
books. Yeah. I know, very deliberately planned.
Yep.
Yeah, I know Lauren got Tress and Drew got Secret Project too. They're also super confused.
Perfect. Yeah, we won't say the names of the next ones, and we won't do spoilers for the future secret projects yet. So cool. Well, Veronica, spoiler initial thoughts.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, all the things you guys have said, fairy tale vibes, a difference in tone and all that. And the fact that the Cosmere was so casual, but there was so much of it, really feels like a next phase in the Cosmere. And it wasn't Lost Metal, where, like, in comparison to the rest of Era 2, there's just so much Cosmere and Lost Metal, so it felt a little bit more jarring. Here, just completely natural. Like, oh, there's the tablet with Evgeni. Okay, great. There's a conjure. Okay, great. There's an Elatrian. Oh, wonderful. A dragon. Wow. You know? And I'm just really excited about this book because I think out of the... Well, at least on this recording, I think I'm the only one I've read Aether of Night. And
I've read Aether.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
a
decade ago.
It's
been a while.
I like Aether, the magic system, and so I was always like very excited for Aethers to make their way into canon. Because it's a really interesting magic system, and I really like what Brandon did with them here because it's different to what we see in Lost Metal, but there's also new stuff that wasn't in Aether Night, and I'm really excited to explore them more.
There will be an Aether episode for sure. You can't on the stuff.
Soon,
don't worry.
TM.
Very soon, like actually soon. we have to do that. I really love this book, as I said, and the Cosmere is just like really casual. That like if you are into the Cosmere, you get more out of it. Like this is prime. Like this is exactly, I think, where Cosmere references are best, where it's like, if you've read the other stuff, you get more out of it, but like, is it necessary to enjoy this story? Really not at all. Like, it's not like you need to read Warbreaker to like the tablet that Fort uses, right? Like, honestly, that's weird in and of itself, right? It's like, oh, the technology has advanced a lot here, right? It is just like, oh, magic tech of a thing. Oh, if I want to know more, I can read other things. Cool. Seeing dragons was really cool to see Cosmere dragon for the first time. Very awesome. But like those Cosmere references were really good. I definitely was like, what is going on with the talking rat? Like same with talking rat and Ulam. I'm like, what is this a Kandra? I was flipping out. I did not know what was going on because he's very weird. He's great. I love him, but I'm like, what is this supposed to be? And clearly this is much further in the future for things, right? So it's like, oh, okay. I know David. I will just give a quick shout out. David was like, wow, I do not like talking animals and things. So he did not like Huck at all. But yeah, I eventually got used to the talking rat, though I'm like, I do need some Cosmere explanation for the Cosmere talking rat, because that doesn't seem like that could be a Kandra as well. So I'm glad we got that.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Who figured it out before it was revealed?
Not me. Nope. I'm an idiot.
I have seen people do it. I mean, not entirely, right? But I have seen people guess that Huck is Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay.
As early as the 20-something chapters.
I think Katie did.
Aeon,
right?
Yeah. Aeon Ian. Yeah.
I know she did because I clicked the spoiler box for a thing that was behind where I read and saw that she had predicted. I was like, oh, that makes sense. It was before the reveal. And I saw her that she was reading it, and then I'd gotten ahead of her. And so I read what she had been reading, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I did not predict it until I read that, her thoughts.
Yeah, like I figured it out like immediately before. Like it was like very soon. And like I think I messaged in the chat like, I want this on record that like I guessed it before I read this thing.
I think you do have that, yes.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like kind of who was able to pick that it was Charlie, and like I guess what gave it away, because there just seems to be like different things that people are picking up on, right? And it's like, oh, what is the thing that made you think that Huck is Charlie? Because I also guessed it, and I guessed it very, very early, really? Just because there's a line at the beginning about how Charlie rambles, and then Huck constantly rambles.
That is true.
So I'm just curious, and people should put it in the comments. Like, if you guessed it and why you guessed it. I'm just very curious.
I'd love to see.
In fact, Tress calls both of them loquacious.
Oh, okay.
Which is an incredibly specific word that she only uses in reference to Charlie and Huck.
Yeah, I think also Brandon, with the Huck thing, he kind of like played against our expectations. I mean, for the people who didn't get it, a lot of them were theorizing, okay, maybe this might be related to Hoyt's curse and like maybe like Hoyt's senses and all that. And so we were expecting a completely different thing because we know Brandon. And so Brandon knows like our thought process and how like where we would go. And he used that to deceive us.
Yes, Brandon called out this show in particular, and many of the viewers of the show, like with the steal for those of you compulsively tracking these things. This is very funny.
And I think I think Huck being Charlie is also kind of like, if you're familiar with the genre of fairy tales, you're probably going to pick that up sooner, because it's like the prince or princess transformed into an animal by a curse is like very very standard across the genre. Yeah.
I was totally fooled though. I was like, is there a race of Cosmere talking rats? Like, what is going on here?
I don't think it's that unlikely.
It's very plausible.
We know like when investiture is involved, it's like sapience is very common. So it's like that's where like my thought process went. Is like, okay, like these are invested rats somehow. Like, okay, they're of human intelligence. How they're talking, not quite sure, but the intelligence side of
Magic.
things, I'm like, I can believe this.
Connection hacks. Yeah. No, sure. Why not?
I mean,
When you're talking rat and the connection
Not
hack just
impossible.
translates,
I guess.
that's actually pretty plausible. But yeah, I am very curious to read comments on how people got that, because I'm an idiot and I did not get it at all. And but you know, this is also me thinking the sovereign is the Lord Ruler and needing to be persuaded, shaken that it's not the Lord Ruler. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, but it could be the Lord Ruler. Wouldn't that be cool? And I'm just an idiot. For other of my spoiler initial thoughts, like, I don't know, it was just a nice blend of this style of story along with the Cosmere goodness that I'm like, oh, we're going to have a lot to talk about. And I gotta say, I like this book a lot better than Lost Metal. Like, this is like, I think Lost Metal's a good 7 for me. 7 out of 10 if I was rating it. Like, it's above average. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. So like maybe 7, maybe 8 if I'm being generous, right? I have issues, whereas this book's easily like a 9 or a 10 for me, like easily. Yeah. Like, it's just really fantastic all the way through. Lovely short chapters. I love the chapter names where it's always the blank. And when you get to the chapter, the dragon, it's like, I'm very interested, and things like that. It's really good.
When you're like me and you're skimming through the table of context, missed that there is a part 6, so you think the book ends on the sacrifice and the survivor. I have a habit of misunderstanding Brandon's table of context. I also was very concerned in the Rhythm of War because I realized that Adolin's last chapter, like point of view chapter, was titled Sacrifice. Brandon just always gets me with those titles.
With those sacrifices.
Totally different. That's pretty funny.
I would like to point out 2 things about the chapter names because they are easy to miss. One of them is there's a chapter. So a lot of the chapters are very like not on the nose, but they're very straightforward, right? The girl, the not gardener. The groundskeeper, yeah. The cannon master, right? There is one chapter that's called The Maligned Fashion Expert.
Yes, indeed, there is.
Yeah. And I think that is clearly Hoyd referring to himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the chapter where Tress figures out how to work around his curse.
Yeah.
I think it's either that or it's the one where he throws the water out. And so the other thing I want to point out is the names of the first 2 chapters, right? The girl and the groundskeeper. When I was recording with Inking Out Loud, which, by the way, if you want more Tress content, they have 2 episodes.
Many hours of recording is my understanding.
They're like 3-hour episodes, at least the first one is.
Yeah.
But The Princess Bride, which is clearly an inspiration for this book, its chapters are also named similarly in
cool.
Nice.
Similar scheme.
Nice.
And where in Tress, the first 2 are the girl and the groundskeeper, there the first 2 are the bride and the groom.
Oh, cute. Nice. Very nice. Oh, Brandon, you're so clever. And I think one last spoilery initial vibe for me is just how pretty this book is. I can't wait to get the physical book where like look, if you read the EPUB, you don't get this, but open the PDF because that's what's going to be the printed book. You see the chapter icons, just the verdant growing, and then you go to the crimson, and then it's the spikes growing, and then when you get to midnight, it's like half crimson, half black, and it grows there. It's very pretty.
Yeah, I know someone put together all of those chapter icons as like a GIF of like watching it grow and then watching it switch to the crimson and stuff.
Excellent.
Very
Nice.
Veronica?
I've seen a couple. They're great.
I was gonna say, like, it's not that it isn't on the pub, but if you read it on an e-reader that's only black and white, you won't like notice the change of colors. Sure. But like, I just had the EPUB like on my computer and it's there.
Okay, cool. And I just generally really loved the art and design of the book. What did you guys think of the art?
So good. Like Howard Lyon is a very talented artist. We know this. Like he's done many Cosmere things beforehand. He still blew this out of the water, in my opinion. Yeah, I liked it.
Argent, it seems you have opinions.
That's the first time that's happened in my life. I never have opinions of things.
No, you're not known for this at all on this show.
No. Howard has been a weird fit for me here.
Interesting.
So
get him off the podcast. Get out of here.
There are things. There are things I absolutely love about the art, and there are like his style is not 100% match for what I like. There is something kind of Renaissance-y about the way that he paints, and while his technical skill is at 11 out of 10, the characters often feel a little static in the illustrations that he paints. And sometimes that's okay. Like the illustration of Crow, for example. It is very much meant to be a portrait where you're looking at her, so that's okay. But if he's painting like an action-y type of scene, such as the very last illustration where Hoyd is facing off against the sorceress and Tress is in the background, there are things missing there for me.
They do tend to look just like paintings. Like they're meant to be paintings, not a snapshot of something that really happened. So I totally see what you're saying.
And that's very much like a style preference type of thing, right? Obviously, what he does is completely valid, and a lot of people love it a lot. It's just not 100% match for me.
Okay.
What is also not a match for me is the deviation from the canon.
What? Oh,
I have an axe to grind there. It's just a lot of the illustrations are not entirely faithful to the text.
Oh, like Tress's hair is too pretty.
I thought you were only talking about Tress's hair.
Tress's hair is the one that shows up a lot because her unruly and untamable wild hair is a big deal in the book, and you read so much about it, and then every single illustration she's just like these perfect.
Yeah, can I just say, the very first illustration, she's like sitting on a boat. As someone with hair like Tress's who has been on boats before, the hair does not like gracefully flow in the wind at the perfect angle behind you. I am like, depending on the angle you're sitting at, your hair could be like directly sticking straight forward in front of your face. I have had that happen to me before. It's
on windy days, if I'm walking outside, I find myself shifting my head around so the wind falls at such an angle.
Yes. Short people with short hair have never had to deal with this, but I have on windy days. Like if I'm eating or something, been like, I have to sit on the side where my hair won't be in my mouth when I'm trying to eat. Like,
see, I'm at the point that I just put it up at that. Like, if it gets too annoying because of wind or eating, I'm like, nah, I carry hair ties on my wrist for a reason. And it's exactly that.
Yeah, I almost always have mine up, so.
But the hair is not the only thing. The Crow illustration that I mentioned earlier, she doesn't seem hard enough based on just like how I read her. The illustration is kind of, she seems like a harsh one, but not to the extent that the text gave me the impression. Sally is described as having tight curls for her hair, and then her hair is just straight in the illustration. But most notably, I think, are the depictions of the sorceress and Hoyd, where at that moment, Rhaina, at the very least, is supposed to be, an Elantrian in her full glowing glory.
Sure.
And she looks like a human.
Yeah, they're not glowing. I did notice that, but speaking of that art piece, just go to that art piece. It's on Brandon's site, actually. Look at Hoyd's shirt. There's Merewell flowers on that sucker, which is hilarious.
I totally did that just to annoy Cassia.
I want to say something about those being on Brandon's site. There's no spoiler warning before those pictures. I did click the link when it got sent in Keeper chat before I had finished the book and saw all of those images when I was like maybe a third of the way through.
Well, I would hope that people who are in this point of the episode have read the entire
Hopefully.
book.
Yeah, Rozar and Paleo, they say don't try to look for the illustrations and table of contents in the PDF.
Don't
Just
do that.
read and you'll find them.
Yeah, it's I kind of. This might actually be in the book, so please let me know if I'm wrong. Like with the Stormlight books, it actually has like a warning of if you look through this list, you will see spoilers. I kind of wish that this book had that as well for the illustrations, just so people were aware, because I can understand why people want to go look at the illustrations. But some of these are like very obviously spoilery, and then they're memorable as well. It's not like you're just looking at something, you're like, I don't know what's happening here. I won't remember what's in this picture. No, you remember what it is, and like it's pretty clear that it's like a big moment.
The ship exploded. Holy there's a dragon, and oh hey, there's Hoyd with aeons and things.
There's a rocket ship.
Oh,
I think David got spoiled by that one, or Joff, one of them was looking through the art and saw that and was like, oh, okay.
I guess like from my perspective, like the art is at the place in the book it is for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe you should read the book up until that point.
I at least clicked on the link to Brandon's site so I could see the art I had already passed in more detail.
Yeah,
I did
like,
not go in expecting to see like everything right there.
Yeah, Grace has a good excuse.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
That is outside of context.
Yeah.
If you're flipping through the book, like you get what is coming to you in my mind. This is as bad as Eric word searching things.
Hey, I didn't do that for this book. I'll have you know.
Oh, wow.
I didn't.
I
know.
What were you going to word search? You didn't know what was in it.
I hate you all.
See, Emerald.
Look, we're not letting this go.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to get better. Okay, look, the rhythm of. Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
But you like doing this. If you like doing it, then do the thing.
No, I think it does affect my enjoyment of the book a bit, and that I probably shouldn't influence that too much. But I couldn't resist Control effing Dawn Shard when I got Dawn Shard. Okay, I don't want to. You would too. Maybe.
No, we didn't.
No.
All of us in this call also read Dawn Shard and didn't purchase Dawn Shard.
Back me up in the comments. Who else when they got Dawn Shard? Control F for Dawn Shard.
I do know people. One of my co-hosts, Alfonsina, I mean, she calls herself a spoiler friend for a reason.
I needed to know.
I managed for her not to look up any spoilers for the Wheel of Time, but otherwise she will always look for them.
Nice.
To bring us back to talking about the art in the book, I'm sort of like Argent with the style. Like, it's not my favorite style in general. It does work for me for this book because of the fairy tale vibe.
Yeah,
but in general, I'm not the biggest fan of like the very traditional fantasy art. Like, I don't like the Michael Whelan covers.
Yeah.
They're too traditional, knights in shining armor, like medieval times, fantasy. Like it's too much for me. And I just don't like that. And that's fine. That's a style thing. This art really is like on that line for me of like not a style I like, but also works well enough for the book, except I do not like the double page spread of them going from the verdant into the crimson. Maybe it will look better in a book where it has to like meet in the middle, but by God, I saw each of them individuals and thought, wow, that's going to look so good together. And I thought it looked terrible. Like someone put them together. I was like, wow, that looks like crap to me, because there was no melding. It was like putting two completely unrelated art pieces next to each other and then trying to pretend it was one picture. Like there was nothing that melded them together. They just stopped and started again. And I hated that so so much. I had a very visceral reaction, as Eric can attest, to seeing this for the first time. So that's my biggest problem with the art, but in general, I do like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that this style like works because of the fairy tale vibe. It reminds me like traditional like paintings of like fairy tale, like Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, like the stained glass at the beginning of the animated version, for example. I don't know, it feels that it works because it's a fairy tale, and I don't think Howard's art style would work for any of the other secret projects as well as it does for this one.
Well, good thing I feel like they've appropriately allotted artists for this one, and so I imagine the next two are going to be, well, the next two Cosmere ones. I imagine they're going to be lovely.
I do really like your point of like, this isn't necessarily like the art style you love, because it's not necessarily an art style I love either, but like it does work very well for this fairy tale. Like I've been recently watching Never After, Dimension 20, dark horror fairy tales, and it's like I can see similarity in the vibes of this art and the art from Never After, even though they're very different, but like it has a similar quality to me.
Hashtag sponsored by dropout.tv.
Please.
If only.
If only.
Contact us.
Actually, and Game Changer are very good shows, guys.
I have one final gripe that I want to bring up with the art.
Okay.
And this one is I think more important than the others. I don't think I like how Cosmere dragons look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good thing they're shapeshifters.
Right. I'm super excited that we got to see a dragon in dragon form in this book, and I'm happy that we have a canonical illustration and all of that. But like the way that it's too humanoid in the pose. Like Xisis is kind of on one knee and like sideways, which seems like super awkward for a dragon. Like it seems like he walks on two legs and then he's dropped on a knee, which is just not a good look. And on top of that, he's kind of like on the skinny side, so he gives me more of a like a lizard or a snake vibe than like a dragon. Like this is the one place where I wanted a traditional, fantasy 80s fantasy dragon, and I didn't get that.
Yeah, he is a little scrawny for a dragon for my taste.
I hadn't really focused on the legs until you mentioned it.
The legs feel weird.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. I was distracted by the head and seeing Crow and Tress there, and I was deliberately not led to looking at those parts. So I didn't really.
The rest of the dragon, like above the chest area, like everything's fine. The wings, great. Head, horns, crest on the back. The beard is a little weird, but the rest of that is fine, right? And then the legs are just like
those legs are really weird. That's actually looking at that.
Yeah.
Like it's very much a person. Like
yeah. Okay,
and that's clashing with the image that I had in my head, where like the description is like he is slithering into or almost sliding into the room, which I imagine him on four legs for that. And then he gets there and kind of rests. And I don't know if that's in the book, but in my head, he's definitely like hand over hand or like claw over claw, almost like a lion or a cat. And he's looking at these two newcomers with interest. And that the illustration was nothing like that. So
yeah, I was imagining kind of almost more of a Chinese dragon image, but in a similar way that you're saying. Like I had a similar idea of like how he was sitting, but yeah, it was very like a mythological Chinese dragon in my head, and he was like a lot bulkier than in the picture. He is very skinny. Now you've pointed it out, no one will ever unsee it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep. Hashtag.
I can't see the like weird humanoid legs that I cannot imagine at all.
There's the thumbnail.
Like,
just the weird dragon legs.
Just the legs.
I almost feel like you should like cut to like show a close up of what we're seeing.
I'll edit this in. Yeah, for sure. I will say on Brandon's site, it seems that there are now 3 pages of Tress of the Emerald Sea art, so you don't immediately see the dragon and Hoyd there. And so like the 3rd page, it's sort of like you see an Aeon, but you don't see either of the people actually attacking. So like I think they actually fixed that kind of, which is kind of nice. I don't know. Check it out.
That's how I always saw it.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really look at this before, so maybe it's always been like this. But it seems not. It could be worse, you know. Oh, Jess, you had cover thoughts.
Oh yeah. So talking about art, I think we need to discuss the cover change because I don't know about everyone else, and I know that they were meant to be like mock-ups of covers. But the 4 covers that they did put out with the Kickstarter and have been constantly used to brand these books over and over and over again since March, I thought it would be kind of similar. And it's not. And I do like the new cover. And I'm also incredibly disappointed with the new cover because I really liked the Tress cover that they had as their mock-up. And I thought it was going to be more like that, and it's just not, and that is quite a big disappointment. So I guess like I also like the Tress cover more than the other covers. So if it had been another one that had come first, then maybe I wouldn't feel quite as disappointed because I wasn't as attached to the book. Whereas this one, I'm just really attached to this book, and I'm like, oh, bugger.
I was not particularly attached to the Kickstarter covers. I'm like, meh. So I quite like this Tress cover. So I think it's quite nice. And so I'm excited to see what the next Secret Project final covers will be. Yeah. So that I'm glad they're changing it up. I do think the Tress one of those 4 Secret Project covers was the strongest of them.
I just wish they had said something beforehand. Just like prime people to know that, hey, I know the book's coming out soon, so just be aware. It might not look exactly as we've shown you up to now.
Yeah, my impression was definitely that they were gonna like do small touches on the cover to like finalize, but not that they were going to like change the composition and layout. Yeah. Which is why this was surprising. Like it's still kind of the same. Hey, it's a girl on a rock and there's a sea. Like so, it's still the same neighborhood, but you are definitely getting a different house.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. Cool.
And I think like if it had just been this cover from the beginning, or we hadn't been given the mock covers, I really like this cover. I do think it's a really good cover. It's just because of that change, and I was not expecting that change, that I was very frustrated by this.
Cool. Any other art comments?
We won't talk about it, but look at the first 2 cups. The art of the first 2 cups, and compare them with the art of the last 2. So like the front, I don't know if they're end papers, but like there's 2 cups in front and 2 cups in the back.
Oh, that's cute.
Just look at them, compare them.
Oh, that's super cute.
And like one of them is like, I don't remember the materials, but the one with the butterfly, breaks at some point in the story. And so she ends up like gluing it together in the epilogue. And so that's what you get to see.
Nice.
That's really cute. I hadn't noticed that. Thank you for pointing that out. That's very wholesome.
Those must be end pages, right? In the physical book. Yeah.
Like with the wallpapery background, they just feel like it.
I cannot wait to get to this Dragonsteel edition of this book, because it is going to be gorgeous.
Yep.
Yeah, I made the choice because back in March I couldn't afford it. I was like, I'll read it and I'll decide after each Secret Project if I want like the physical. I was starting to think I'm gonna get all 3 Cosmere ones just from this one.
Yeah.
I am very intrigued, excited to see what Tor and Goliaths are going to put out as the covers for these. And presumably those will include the art as well. Maybe not the end pages, particularly for Goliaths, because they don't
I don't think they will include the art.
Really? Okay. I'm just thinking that like they include Stormlight art, right? So it's not like they never do that. But I can see the art being exclusive.
Yeah, but it's the color that's tricky.
Yeah, the color does. Yeah, that'd be black and white.
Yeah.
That'd have to be.
Yeah,
black and white.
Definitely not the full color art. I don't think. Like the two-tone, like they might just include it as black and white. But
I can see that. Yeah.
Mhm.
That'll be really interesting to see and compare.
I know all of my UK editions of Brandon's books, everything's black and white. Like I had never seen any of the art pieces that are in the US editions that are end pages and stuff in color before, like ever until I joined the Shard, because they're just not in color in the book. So I didn't even know there were color versions.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was, I mean, to be fair, I do think talking about the art, there is a lot of art to talk about here. But maybe let's just generally go on to talking about. We definitely talked about things we liked, at least initially, but maybe go in a bit more in depth of things we liked, things we didn't like. Though I don't know how much we didn't like on this one. It's not like Lost Metal where we need to do 3 episodes and there's different
I
ones.
honestly can't think of.
I have one thing I don't like.
Okay.
I think I also have one thing.
Here I was going to be like, oh, we could start with things we liked, but we didn't talk a lot about things we liked. So go for it.
We'll circle back to things we like, because there is something I want to bring up.
Yeah, we'll sandwich it.
There are 12 oceans for the 12 variations of aether. We learn about 6 of them.
No Ars Arcanum. None.
Oh my god, the other
No,
Arcanum, yeah.
What are the other 6 aethers? What are they?
Spoilers for future stuff. Maybe.
Is there an ocean that just explodes into meat when
Yeah, that's
water
exactly
rains?
what I was thinking.
I'm like, I
how
really
does
hope
Void and
not.
Earth work?
I
really hope
It
not.
just turns
Guys,
into
I don't
filet
think-
mignons. Just
don't think Bastarin is a
Tasty.
thing. I think that's out. Bastarin's too weird.
Because like there does seem to be some parallels between the aethers and the 10 essences, but I just don't want there to be meat sea. I just don't want it.
The sea of meat.
No, it'd be like the
It's
sea of
bad.
flesh or something.
It's bad.
I think we need to give a bit of context here, because obviously not everyone is going to have read Aether of Night.
Well,
So-
this is not referencing, like, this is strictly going off of the essences.
Oh, okay, the essences.
Like,
Okay, yeah.
there's the essence of sinew, which soul casting makes meat.
Yeah.
I have a thing I didn't like.
Okay, Jess, go for it.
So I was talking earlier about like with Huck, I was kind of like, oh, okay. And then I just accepted it and moved on because it worked with the story. I don't like when things are very different to each other. And even though we get like small bits and pieces of technology in this book, a lot of the technology level and like what they're doing, it is not modern day. It is still ye olden times. They're on an actual sailing ship, blah, 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 pirates.
16.
And then we get to the sorcerer and the rocket. I don't mind that. The rocket, I'm like, okay, yeah, like clearly, like Nalthus has got a lot of tech now. So I imagine Cell's got a lot of tech now. It's the computer. The computer breaks it for me. It just breaks the entire immersion of the ending of this story. And that's the thing that I don't like about the ending. The rest of it, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't even start to consider because the immersion is completely broken. So trying to analyze the story and see whether I like the confrontation, I don't care because the computer has just destroyed it for me to begin with.
You mean the magical viewing tablet or whatever?
The magical viewing tablet that is like, oh.
Honestly,
I found that so amusing.
I feel like you just have to
one
lean.
step too far for me.
I think it's fine. You just kind of have to lean a little bit more into like the fairy tale magic mirror vibe.
Yeah, I think if like maybe there had been a little bit more foreshadowing of the tech level of the Cosmere earlier. Like I know we get Fort's tablet, but that's kind of it. Like we don't get all that more past that.
Sure.
I think if there'd been a little bit more, then it would have worked for me, but it just felt like it came out of nowhere.
Sure.
It felt really out of place and it felt bizarre. So
Like if
that's my biggest complaint.
Like if like one of Xisis's servants came in with like a touch tablet and was like taking notes or something, like because like he would be like the good place to foreshadow.
Yeah,
that.
true.
I think that would work really well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Obviously, like in world, right? We're far in the future. This is a backwater planet, and the sorceress has this advanced tech. So, like, it makes sense in world, but I see what you're saying. Like in the story, it's like kind of weird, and then it's like, oh, that was actually a rocket ship. Which,
It's like maybe if we had more from the sorceress throughout the book, like stories of her doing really weird things, or like having these magical abilities, but technology wise, I guess. Mostly what we get from her is, oh, she's got monsters in the Midnight Sea. And that's kind of it until we get to her island. And I just think that could have been foreshadowed a bit more of what we were going to get when we get there.
I mean, I think really all you need to do is like drop in like, oh, legends tell that the sorceress has like a magical mirror that she can use to see far off places.
Yep.
sure,
Yep.
sure.
I think that would have been
It
cool. Yeah.
fits with the fairy tale vibe, and like,
Yeah.
I did find it very funny. Video conferencing engaged. I found that hilarious personally. I can see how it threw you though, but I find it hilarious.
Seeing
Also, how much
the
do you
word
want to
laptop,
at the gathering?
seeing the word laptop is. It took a moment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It is weird that this is so far future because I know when we did our initial Tress, reading the sample chapters, it's like, oh, this is far in the past. It's like, nope, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, that probably threw all of us off.
Yeah.
There is the one thing that I don't really like is also from the end, but it's not that. It's the showdown between Tress and the sorceress.
Yeah.
That didn't entirely work for me. I thought it happened just a little too quickly. And I thought it happened so there's a big conversation here that also spills into like Tress's character arc and narrative arc. But for most of the book, maybe 60 to 70% of the book, Tress is kind of in control and taking the initiative, and like she has agency in the things that she does. And then in the last 30 or so percent, in part to avoid turning her into like an overcompetent Mary Sue type of character, she has to have some not losses, but like things have to change a little bit. And that starts with her failing to mind control the Midnight Essence when she goes out. And so the last 20 to 30% of the book are Tress learning that it's okay to accept help, and it's okay for other people to like do things for her the same way that she's been doing things for them, which is a good character arc. That's an important character development lesson to do. However, the way that culminates is she does very little in the final confrontation of her story, even though she's the main character. Like she gets in the tower with Huck, and she leaves briefly, and then she comes back and is like, "Ha! I figured out that this is in fact Charlie." And then she gets stuck to a wall, and from that point on, well, she contacts the ship, I guess, first and tells them, "Hey, we need to bring Hoyt here." And from that point on, the others are doing all of the work for her, right? Huck is going down and like opening the door. Hoyt is coming and like saving the day. The other members of the crew are like overcoming the defenses of the island, which is great for all of their stories, but it puts me in a weird place where I was expecting a confrontation between Tress and the sorceress, and I didn't really get one.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that I wanted like Tress to single-handedly defeat the sorceress. I think that would have been too much considering how powerful Rhaina is. But I think I wanted a little bit more from her. Like maybe find a way to smuggle the spores into the spaceship and like shoot her with the flare gun, right? And briefly capture her in Verdant, and then that doesn't work, right? that at least gives her something to do in all of these scenes. So that not quite hit the mark for me.
Yeah, I do expect people having her be damsel in distress at the end. I can see why someone wouldn't like that. I think the speed of it, that like she's really not captured that long, like because a lot of things do happen very fast, actually helps there. It's not like she's like off for a long time. So in that sense, the speed kind of makes it work for me in a sense.
And I think that, like, I think Tress figuring out the Charlie thing is meant to try and balance that. I don't think it balances it very well. I do agree with you on that. She does just kind of not stand around because she's stuck to a wall, but she stands around and does nothing while she's saved by everyone else. But yeah, I think the Charlie thing is meant to try and give her some agency, but I don't think it does it very well.
Other things people liked or didn't like, or that you want to talk about.
Okay, this is going back to things I liked, and I love the line, "Dragon Xisis," Tress said, her voice ragged. "I have come to initiate your ancient pact of promise. To this end, I have brought you this slave to work in your domain." Then Tress gestured to Crow. I love it. I'm
So
like,
good.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you read the 2 lines in the next chapter, please? The first 2 lines.
"What?" the dragon said. "What?" Crow said.
I love when Tress gets back and she's like, guess she should have gagged me. Or like, if you're going to use someone as a bargaining chip, you should gag them first. And Hoyt is like, you'd be surprised how much that advice has come in useful.
Yeah, because it's like
So good.
Hoyt tells her like, "You have everything you need," and I'm like, and it was like, I'm like, I actually don't remember if I wanted this to happen before it happened, but it's just so good. It's just so good.
In addition to that, when they try and confront Crow and Crow just completely destroys them and like breaks
Just
Fort's
wipes
tablet,
the floor with
I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh, like this is like pit of despair here. I'm like, things are so bad. Oh.
Yeah.
She not only destroys them, she does it without using her powers to make a point about the fact that she can destroy them.
She is just that good.
Yeah.
And they are so far below her level. And there's multiple of them as well, and it just that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all.
And like Fort's tablet being destroyed, I'm like, no, Fort! I was so upset.
Yeah.
So
That was the lowest of the low points.
Yeah, Jess?
I have a thing going off of that because I love that scene. That is probably one of the most brutal scenes that have like hit me from a Brandon book because I felt unwell at the thought of like Fort losing this ability to communicate with people. I wish there had actually been a moment where it was allowed to breathe.
Yeah.
Because it happens, Tress goes to Xisis, immediately gets a new tablet and brings it back. And like there's just no moment for us to like really feel how bad this actually is. And I just really wanted that because the scene is so brutal. And like the other thing she brings back, like the glasses for Anne and the letter, was it for Saleh?
I think it's just knowledge or note of
knowledge.
where the father is.
Like those came up way beforehand. And we've kind of like had them with those characters in the back of our minds for a while, that these are problems in their lives that they need to try and overcome somehow. And we just don't get that time with the problem with Fort, and I think that is the most brutal one. I just wanted Brandon to hurt me some more and give me some more time where he stabs me in the heart.
Well, I mean, it's very much like, here's this horrible thing that happened. It's like, oh, well, we resolved it very quickly, so I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I have a thing I want to talk about.
Okay, go for it.
I hate Rihanna. Not even necessarily as a character, just as a person.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
We show up, okay. Tress, we show up to the sorcerer's house. The first words out of her mouth to Tress are, I know this planet is backwater, but like, you think that you've invented hairbrushes by now, and it's just immediate, like, seething hatred for this woman.
She is a completely horrible person, that's for sure.
It's like all of the curses are like, yeah, whatever, like evil fairy tale stuff. As someone who has had my hair insulted before, just the immediate like insult to Tress's hair was like, no, that's too far. Like, you turned Charlie into a rat, fine, yeah, you took away Hoyd's, like, understandable. Like, I know other people would want to do that too. But insulting Tress's hair after she's been on a ship for weeks with, like, out any proper hair care materials. Just like, no, she's doing her best. What do you expect? Her hair's not gonna look nice after sailing for weeks on end.
She's such a horrible person, specifically going to a backwater to lord over other people her awesome technology and magic. What a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Also, member of the Weiry from Secret History. Whoa.
Can I talk about some other characters?
Yeah, I think we're like in character section now.
Yeah, go for it.
So everyone kind of knows that Alex has a group of Feather has a group of characters who are trash that she absolutely loves.
Yes.
And I get it now because it exists.
Oh,
my God, this book has given me like the two best Cosmere crushes, like immediately going straight up the list for me. One of them is Crow because God, I hate her so much, but I also don't. And I really enjoy. I feel like this is how Alex feels about like Mraize. And I'm like, I get it now. I get it. But also just Tress is such a good character. And I love her so much. And I would very much be fine with marrying her. Sorry, Eric. You get back.
Yeah, that's
I'll have Tress.
We have a very understanding relationship, darling. So that's totally fine.
I just connected so well with this idea of a person who doesn't have prerequisite knowledge. Like, she's not special in any way. She is the person applying for the entry-level job who doesn't have the 6 years of experience that they want. And she's just having to like panicky work her way through things and try and find a result without like letting people know that she has no idea what the hell she is doing. And I really relate to that as someone who has done it for a very long time. And she's so ingenuitive. I don't know if that's right word or how you say it. Like she's just really clever in the way that she thinks about things. And I really enjoyed the problems Brandon set up in this book and how he solved them. Like the thing with Crow, the thing with Xisis that Ian was quoting before, that was so brilliantly dealt with. And like, I can very much see Tress being the person to be like, oh, if I do it like this, maybe I could just be ballsy enough to like get out of this. And like, she does the same thing with like lifting the ship to save them from the rain coming at them. Like I was so stressed in that scene because I did not know how this was going to go. I had no idea how to fix that. And like, that was just such a clever use of information that she had only really just gotten and then had to put to use immediately. And I just love that part of her, and just like also her braveness as well. She just gets off a ship after living on an island her entire life, being like, don't go in the spores will kill you. Oh, hey, there's these pirates who have kind of kidnapped me now. I need to get to that ship. And it's just like, well, I could walk across. Like, wow. That was incredibly brave. And I just love all of these attributes about her so much. And I love her so much as a character. But then, of course, there's Crow as well. I'm like, oh, I love you both.
Very differently. Veronica.
Yes.
Yes, I really like how Tress's character arc subverts like traditional like fantasy and like fairy tale fantasy tropes in more than just flipping the genders. I think you talked about this on IOL a bit, but how, I mean, you have the thoughtful character that thinks it's one doesn't make assumptions, because we all know that's the thing that so many heroes do. Is like, guys,
Think about
stop
things.
making assumptions and think about things, investigate, do kind of think. And I really like that. And the fact that her agency is so much like based around that, and her ingenuity, like taking like this role like as a sprouter. And it doesn't have to be the way you traditionally think of someone like on the hero's journey, because the book like perfectly follows every single one of the steps in the hero's journey, but they're different than what you'd expect in their execution. And it isn't just, well, let's like flip the script and, well, now Tress is going to save Charlie. It goes beyond that, and I think that gives Tress's character arc a lot of dimension and like depth to her as a character, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love Tress. Like she's a fantastic character. I actually liked in the end that it's her design that let the crew get past the weird army that the sorceress has.
Awakened
something.
robots.
We'll talk about that later. We're doing characters right now, but I like that her designs and the things she's done has had such an effect on the characters, and that is cool.
Yeah. See, I liked Tress, but I identified with instead of having a crush on.
You were predisposed to like her,
yes.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to talk for a second. Can we talk about Charlie now?
Sure. Sure.
Yes.
I want to say, I think Charlie, when you actually stop and think about it and go past him just sort of talking and stuff, has in this book one of the worst backstory. His story in this book is I think on par with Kaladin and Shalon in terms of horribleness and trauma. His father, who's clearly obviously emotionally abusive before this, probably, right? That's not a stretch to say. Once he realizes that Charlie isn't going to fall in line, sends him off to die, immediately adopts the newer, better version of a son, and then he gets transformed into a rat. Obviously horrible experience, is under this cruel woman's control, told that the only way he'll ever turn back is by bringing back the person he loves to share this horrible fate instead of him. He obviously at some point, I think throughout this book we don't get into Charlie's head, but my interpretation was his arc in this book was not doing that. He was obviously tried to turn Tress away, but I think my impression was that at the start, if she made it that far, he was going to do it. People can disagree with that because we don't necessarily get into his head. So I don't know if that's true. And then he's immediately captured and put into a cage and is going to be sold. And then he's thinks he's going to die in the spores. And it's is it even just it almost seems like luck that he even found Tress to begin with.
Fortune.
Capital F fortune,
destiny.
baby. Maybe destiny.
It's just with I just feel Charlie's story is one where it's the more I think about it, the more I'm this guy is goes through hell and just has a horrible time. It's has serious trauma after this entire book ends.
Oof.
And he's still so cheerful and happy and willing to help Tress. even if he tries to turn her away.
Yeah.
He doesn't lose any of that, and I think that's.
I know. I love Charlie. I'm Brandon. How dare you give us a character who goes through so much trauma and is so lovable, and to not get me inside of his head to watch the pain that he's going through firsthand.
Because it's a spoiler until we get to the Sorceress's Island.
Yeah.
That's Charlie.
It would be fun seeing the story from his perspective.
That make a Dan story where it's just really getting into the horror and trauma of Charlie. But,
Throw some body horror.
It's pretty clear. I think at the end when it's talking about Charlie, it's pretty clear that there's a side arc going on of Charlie is terrified and a coward. As a rat, he's understandably terrified and a coward and like and is just like scared of everything. And then his story arc is like, okay, I'm like willing to like find this little bit of courage that I have left to like risk myself to save Tress.
Right.
It's just like I'm just like the part of me that like loves the angst is like, did he like know that his father was sending him off to die when he like heard about the sorceress, or did he have like a little bit of hope inside until the end that like maybe there was some other plan and like his father wasn't that cruel, and like at what point did he realize that like his family didn't care?
Mm-hmm.
Ow, that hurts, Grace.
I'm just like, I want the Charlie fan fiction so badly.
Yeah. One other weird thing about Charlie is at the end, he just walks out naked and he's like, oh, it's going to be weird getting used to wearing clothes. I'm like, how long did you spend as a rat and how many years did you spend as a person who wore clothes? It's like, you really adapted to being a rat real quick.
It's a pretty drastic change.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe there's like a little bit of trauma involved of like you kind of have to be used to being a rat, like because it's like if you like embrace it, otherwise it's like the hope of like someday being a human again will be like too much to deal with.
Sure.
Yeah. But once you're a human again, what did you remember? Like, oh yeah, we wear clothing. Like, really?
I don't know.
Like he had just transformed.
I know.
I personally like the part at the end where the Duke's where Charlie's mom just like totally leaves the Duke. And it's like, yeah, sending your only son off to die, not great for a healthy marriage. Just like, that's a great line. It's like, yeah, turns out.
Who'd have life lessons with Hoyd?
Life lessons with Hoyd.
If you send your son off to die, your spouse and mother of the child might not be happy about that.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Cool. So we're back after a short break. Jess had to go. Veronica's power went off, but it came back. So maybe you'll have to go too. But
I hope.
Yeah,
like
we have a tight recording thing to get these out in time when we don't pre-record. So. We'll do the best we can. So let's talk about some more characters. I want to talk about how much I love Fort. Like, Fort is the best. And I was like, when he first appeared, I wasn't really sure what Brandon was going for. But then I'm like, when we get on his tablet and communicating with Tress, I'm like, oh, I love Fort so much. And that's why the tablet breaking was just like, I felt so despondent. Like, Brandon did such great character work.
Yeah, I read the acknowledgements, and I read that there was like someone who specifically helped with like a deaf character, and so I actually first like if you read the book, there's a moment in the like in one of Charlie's letters where he's like, they tried to get me with a deaf princess. I was like, Tress is going to like meet and hang out with that princess.
Yeah, that's how I felt too.
But no, it was Fort, and it's actually like interesting and like good representation, but just it seems like in this world there's like a strong deaf community, which I felt was interesting, and I felt like that really came across in the writing.
Yeah. The representation, I as totally a not deaf person, I thought it was fantastic. So I really loved that.
Yeah, it was great. And also Southern Scadrian hunter ancestry. I was hunting for a good deal.
Oh, right. Yes, there was something about that.
Maybe.
I know some people have latched onto this idea. It's not unreasonable, but it doesn't vibe with me.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just seems like a weird. And like the hunters are the people with the masks that are like fused with their faces, and like there's nothing in Fort's culture that we know that has anything to do with that. Yes, the reeeeally were here, and so there's maybe a history of like world hoppers visiting this place. So like it's not impossible or even implausible. It just doesn't. I thought it was just a fun way of talking about trades as like, oh, we were a culture of hunters. But in the modern day and age, when there's like, we can't have everyone be a hunter, how do you like recontextualize your culture to fit? And so you do this thing. I think that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is
And
happening there.
I don't feel like being a hunter is a particularly like unique to one planet
Sure,
or
sure, sure,
culture
sure.
thing. It's like, no, like humans across time have needed to like hunt for food before they develop. That's not that unusual.
His far
It's just-
future,
it's-
though.
It's a thing that is, I feel, distinctive in the Cosmere. Like Brandon has made an effort for like, okay, like this is the thing for this culture, and we've been trained to pick up on that sort of thing. So it's like,
True. That
is
is
this
fair.
related to that thing, or is this unrelated?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
Um.
Going back to the representation thing,
Mhm.
like one thing that was constantly in my mind reading Fort was like comparing and contrasting with Hearthstone, a character from Rick Riordan's Magnus Chase series who's also deaf. I like both characters a lot. and I don't know, I think that Brandon and Rick handled it in like slightly different ways, but they both, like from what I know, I'm obviously not an expert on this, but I think that the representation felt like very genuine, and that Fort's character, like Hearthstone, went far more than like just their disability, and that there were lots of other things that were interesting about them and that made them like, good characters, and that were really the center of who they are and the things that the story focuses on.
Yeah.
Fort with his deals and with like his interactions and friendships, the friendship that develops with Tress, like when they're cooking. And I mean, I think friendship is definitely something that both characters have going for them, with Fort and with Hearth, because they form really strong friendships with our main characters. I think that makes it really nice, and that the story focuses on more than just a disability. And I think that that's good representation, not only for this, but for any type of representation that Brandon has included or chooses to include in the future. I think they're just done really well.
And it's how he has handled inclusion and representation in the past, right? Steris' story is not about being on the spectrum. Kaladin's story is not about depression, right? These conditions they inform how their characters move throughout the world and how they act. But the story is about them being people, right? Them being characters, not about them being someone with depression, someone with, Yeah. I do like that Fort's trades, and this applies to all of the secondary crew members, became one of the ways that the plot resolved itself at the end, right? So we had Tress driving a lot of the plot, and then she went off and did her own thing in the tower, and then on the ship we had Fort managing the Midnight Essences with his trades.
Oh right, yes, right.
We had Saleh navigating these incredibly treacherous, not waters, right?
Or fake magic ocean water here, you know?
Right, yeah. With rocks underneath, which I imagine would be even more difficult to navigate, because in a water, sea, or ocean, you can at least kind of a little bit see, right? And this is
right.
This is not
it's pure black, yeah.
And then we had Anne dealing with the sorceress's army by immobilizing them with her cannon shots.
Yeah, I really like that. I liked that moment with Anne. We didn't get a lot of Anne, but I love Hoyd. The narration really adds a lot to the story and makes it tighter in a way, right? Because Hoyd can sort of give that closure to Anne's character arc of just the stress is what's causing her to, miss and self-fulfilling prophecy. So
inexperience, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because nobody lets
bad
practice.
eyesight.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
You literally can't see.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I liked all the crew. Brandon did great character work for the limited time we've seen in the book. Yeah. So
yeah. I loved the scene in which Fort and Tress were negotiating over the value of the food that each one of them was providing and going back and forth. I think that was it was almost an entire chapter, and I thought it read fantastically. And then at the end, Fort's like, "Oh, I'm going to be telling this story for ages because this is the best hunt I've ever made."
So adorable.
Have you eaten my food?
Lovely. Oh, so good.
And like the dogs were fun. Like it was a fun joke. And then Hoyd gives one of them a name and it's like the dog that dies. I was just like, like these were just like interchangeable non-characters, and now you made me love one, and it's the one that's dead. How dare you?
And one's actually called Doug too.
Yeah. But that's the whole point, right? He's like, okay, these are background characters, we don't care about them, and then one of them dies and he goes, okay, yes, but they were background characters, but they're also, each one of them was a human in their own right, so let me tell you the story of this one, because that's the right and the respectful thing to do. Like, I think the chapter where we get to hear about Paxson, was it?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Paxson.
It was a very like touching human chapter.
Yeah.
Sometimes Hoyd does have a heart.
Yeah.
Honestly, this chapter has made me like not reconsider what I think of him, but add more context. Because I know we've like people in the fandom have memed about, oh, maybe he's the villain of the Cosmere. Oh yes, he tells Dalinar he's going to allow Roshar to burn, even with tears in his eyes. But like we consistently, I feel like, get scenes in which Hoyd cares about like individuals, right?
Yeah, there was a section where Hoyd was talking about Tress and her empathy, and I don't remember the exact context, but he was saying like people who feel empathy like can grow into the strongest people, and like I almost want to find this exact passage. Yeah, the passage is actually in a chapter that is titled for Hoyd, the cabin boy. It might seem that the person who can feel for others is doomed in life. Isn't one person's pain enough? Why must a person like Tress feel for two or more? Yet I've found that the people who are the happiest are the ones who learn best how to feel. It takes practice, effort. And those who, late in life, have been feeling for 2, 3, or 1,000 different people, well, turns out they've had a leg up on everyone else all along. Empathy is an emotional loss leader. It pays for itself eventually. And as I was reading that line, I was like, he is in this moment specifically talking about Tress, but I think he's also talking about himself and like his own, like what he has discovered for himself about like caring for people over time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to transition into Hoyd.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we're doing.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I think that, we've seen Hoyd so much as a minor character, like the beggar, or like even as Wit, where he's the most present. He's still a side character, and he still is like in this like Wit persona, insulting people. And I think that this is the first real step towards seeing who Hoyd really is as a person. And his story, and that was part of why Brandon wanted to experiment writing in his voice and all that. And I don't know, I think that we're going to see, like, we saw here, and we're going to see a lot more, like, dimensions and layers to Hoyd than we've seen previously. He's lived for I don't know how many years. And he's bound to have layers upon layers that most of them you can tell that he keeps hidden. And I think that even if he was affected by the curse, he was kind of the most genuine he's been in this one. And like you can tell, like partly because this is written in his voice, and so you have these little comments of him talking about storytelling and life and things like that, which let us see some of his opinions and the way he thinks beyond these monologues at the end in the epilogues of Stormlight books. No. I'm very excited for Dragonsteel. I know that's way off in the future.
Yeah.
That Dragonsteel Prime isn't going to be the best example
No.
because it's been so long since then, and from what I've heard. But I'm really curious to learn more about who Hoid is. Not only his story and his involvement in the Shattering and the magic and the lore, but Hoid as a person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What else do we
Did
learn
we-
about Hoid in this book?
We got like hints about the Shattering in this book where he was like, oh, that's the most crazy thing I've ever heard, and I was part of a plot with 16 other people to kill a god.
No, that one.
And then there was another line where he was talking about when Charlie tells Tress, like, I lied to you for your own good, and he was like, that
Mhm.
never goes well. Like, I said that with 16 other people. And I was like, I
Interesting.
think that's referring to the Shattering.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, in what context would he be like with all of those people who killed Aiden Aldi and be like, we lied to you for your own good?
Maybe it was just the lie of like the reason to kill Aiden Alcium, maybe? I don't know.
Or maybe taking the power for people's own good.
I think they genuinely thought what they were doing was for maybe not Aiden Alzium's own good, although it's possible that Ado was like getting corrupted or insane a la Honor kind of way, right? But I think they thought they were doing this for the good of the Cosmere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was not. They thought that at the time, at least, but maybe they were,
Yeah.
lying to themselves
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
This book is just so funny.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, it's like when we find out that like Hoid's curse was to lose his 5 senses, it's like immediately you're like, but he can obviously see and hear like what's going on. And then like it's like these 5 other senses, like the sense of self and sense of decorum. I was like, oh, Brandon, I love the wordplay. Top notch.
Pretty
So
good.
The important
And it's like being witty is like core to his perception of himself. So like, oh. And Ulam is just having a ball with it.
Ulam's having so much fun.
Like, I'm going to keep track of this for the
Ulam's
future.
Ulam's mentioned in Lost Metal, by the way.
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah,
in
there's a
I
mention of
noticed.
him.
epilogue.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She thinks to herself how Tensoon and Ulam both warned
Mhm.
her that the Wayne thing was not going to work.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, and like Punny or someone in staff chat pointed that out to me, like
Yeah.
when the reveal comes that he's a Khandra. And then I was just reading like someone's live blog of Lost Man, and they mentioned it all, but I was like, oh, that's where it was. And I just find it
Yeah.
like I find this funny because this person started with the Lost Metal, which is a whole other thing, and I think is likely going to Tress next, so that's going to be interesting.
I mean, it's just been really funny since we've gotten the secret projects announced in March 22 of just these subtle hints of like, oh, here's this thing. And Brendan like, oh, I've been thinking about aethers a lot. And I was like, yes, I clearly
Or
you
it's like-
have with Lost Metal and this.
Is there a character whose name starts with X? Like,
Yeah.
Sure, it's Xisis.
Yeah, and he mentioned that on Reddit in September 2020. It's like, tee, you've been writing Tress this whole time, Brennan. Ah, you jerk. It's just quite funny. But, Hoid, he finally got his Elantrian powers. It's been presumably a long time. We don't know how far in the future this is, but it seems
Thousands of years,
pretty
maybe.
far in the
Somehow,
Yeah.
somehow a current Elantrian can like accept him into the group.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
I really want to table that discussion for like a more
Yeah.
in-depth conversation at some because this
yeah.
is such a can of worms.
And honestly,
like-
we probably need to do more prep than we did for this episode. 'Cause-
Yeah, that is an outstanding what?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, maybe we'll get some answers in the spoiler stream. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So if you're
it
seeing
happens.
this and there was a spoiler stream, which we really don't know because they did a Memory of Light stream. So I don't know. Are they doing
Yesterday,
a
yeah.
Tress spoiler stream? I don't know. But we haven't seen it at this time. So hey. But I don't know. It's possible that a lot of things are different with the Elantra sequels and like changing things and how the Iries related to that is very unclear, right? So we do have so many WoB episodes we need to do eventually, but
Oh my god, yeah.
we're very We're very, very behind. And I don't know when we're going to do them.
The year of catching up with Sanderson.
The year of are we going to have Lost Metal or Rhythm of War topics? Who knows? Maybe we'll just do WOBs and secret projects. And that's it. I found Hoyd very entertaining, and his narration incredibly entertaining. And Ulam was also amazing, incredibly weird. And I also don't know what's going on with Sazed releasing the Khandra. Is that the line?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well,
does that mean he's still
their
alive?
contract is with him, so it's like he's like, okay, contract dissolved. You can do whatever you want now.
Yeah.
Does that mean Sazed's still alive?
I don't know.
Does that mean Kelsier doesn't kill him? Damn.
not in Era 3 at least.
No.
I think there's room for that in Era 4.
No.
I think so. Narratively speaking, I think what's happening here is Brandon wants the Khandra to be more of a part in the larger Cosmere because they are a fun species, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you do that? You either have Harmony send out agents all over the place, which is a way he could have done it, right? Obviously, he sends Milan. But I think this is a more organic way where says it releases the Khandra, says you are your own people, you do your own thing, go out. Obviously, you know about the Cosmere. Obviously, you know how to get places. Go and like be people, right? And so I think this is foreshadowing for us seeing more Khandra on more worlds in future Cosmere stories.
Yeah. That are not just agents of Harmony.
Yep.
Because presumably during like Era 2, the current time rather than future time, I don't know, this is gonna get confusing. Harmony, like there's only the world hopping Khandra, and I think there was a WOB recently that's like, no, that world hopping Khandra is not an agent of Harmony. Like that's what Brandon said, right? Yeah. But now, like with them released, then we can see them anywhere, and then world hopping Khandra is just a totally meaningless sentence, really. I want to talk about our Cosmere dragon. We talked about the art. We didn't talk about him.
Xisis Refliel.
Yes.
Dragon hype.
Nice.
Yeah, it is very cool to see a Cosmere dragon. We got the dragon steel along that. Like that's still the same. That's still always been there. So
first canonical mention and appearance of Dragonsteel.
Yeah, on the Coppermine we had like, we should make an actual page called Dragonsteel Metal. Like that's the actual substance.
This page for Dragonsteel because it's like 5 different things.
Oh, it's a disambig. Don't worry, it's a disambiguation page.
Biggest disambig.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Got the con, the company, the book, now and the metal. Yeah, but do we think this is foil?
It has to be. Probably. How many dragons are living under seas studying aethers can there be?
That's a good point.
Really?
For those of you who don't remember, this was referenced in the Rhythm of War Ars Arcanum, that foil was what? Yeah, he was at the bottom of the sea and wanted to master the aethers, right? That's basically what it was. Yeah.
Control the aethers, actually. Which is interesting, potentially.
Well, that is interesting.
Why does he want to control the aethers? Like,
put that quote in our aether outline that we haven't started. I'll talk about it. But yeah, super interesting. So presumably he's studying the aethers. I find it interesting that he sort of needs an excuse to let Tress go, like some rationale. Because Tress was like, do you like need an excuse? And he's just like, yeah, I do. Like it was pretty matter of fact there.
Well, I think it's like he needs, like he obviously like wants to let Tress go.
Yeah.
But like he has to choose between Tress or Crow. Crow sucks. So like he doesn't, but like that can't be his reason. Like he's like, there needs to be like, this is the official law reason I am picking this girl I obviously like better.
I almost wonder if it's him wanting to like continue his own mythology on this world in a sense, and like the legend of him.
Maybe.
You know, because Hoyt has that line that lots of cultures have dragons, usually because the dragons show up early on in their development, so it's in their legends, and so I feel like the dragons care about how people see them.
And speaking of that line, I don't know if it was a wob or if it was actually in that line, but somewhere somebody mentioned that the dragons like take care of inserting themselves and like keeping themselves present in like people's minds. And then Marsh has done that totally by accident because we got the reference of death with spikes in his eyes.
That's another crazy lost metal thing that we plopped in there. Like, did Brandon put that in the Lost Metal Ars Arcanum because he's like, that'd be a great line in Tress, and then it's like, okay, well, I gotta rationalize how this is in Tress, and that'll really get the Cosmere people thinking.
It does.
It does. Marsh is clearly still fine, or at least legends are. They've gone around.
I wonder if it's the like. If the Kandra do spread around the Cosmere, I wonder if they are the one who were bringing knowledge of Marsh around. Although, how much do they like revere him as death?
No, I mean certainly by this time in the Cosmeres, Scadrians have probably gotten around quite a bit, right? Yeah. And they would be saying that, but
I have a theory.
Yeah,
I think it's Kelsier trying to fuck with his brother.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny for sure. That's definitely possible, and the Ghostbloods doing that. But the Ghostbloods would know what death is, so it's interesting how these legends have evolved during Lost Metal time, if they've gotten around. Like certainly Space Age Cosmere, I'm not surprised that people would know of this legend because in the far future that would be just supernatural. That would be very natural, not supernatural, very natural. Gotta be careful there. Other than the dragon's legs, which I agree, and that art is a little weird, it was very intimidating to see Xisis here, and I was very terrified, and I wish we got more, but it's also really good that we only got a very limited amount of it as well. That's like, wow, you really got me wanting so much more, but that's not this story. But we had to go see the mythical creature under the sea for a little bit to get some gifts, you know?
And something that I've seen pointed out, which is a question to think upon, as Brandon is wont to do, which is that we see a dragon making deals here, which is somewhat reminiscent of the other dragon we've encountered, Corvelli of Ashe, who brings the dews at dawn, with boons and curses. It's like,
true, that is true. Definitely true.
Is this a dragon thing or a coincidence? I don't know.
I could definitely see that being a dragon cultural thing, potentially.
Or is it a Fane thing?
Yeah, that is a.
Are dragons Fane? Is that one of the ones
that have 6 appendages?
Oh, right.
Apparently. Like
Brandon said dragons are Fane.
Brandon said dragons are Fane,
Yeah. We gotta do some WoW episodes because I don't remember seeing
Need to learn about the WoWs. There's more context to this that I just realized I had completely omitted. I ask because I was thinking of the idea that bone spores, quote unquote, might be Fane, and that got me along the train of bone spores, Fane, Skullmoss, back to aethers, Hellbond. That involves like trade of like water for other substances.
Okay. There's a lot of connections you're going along.
It has a lot of connections. Yeah. Now that I say this out loud, I don't think it makes as much sense. But that's how the neurons were firing.
Yeah.
Here's my question about this, right? This whatever, the X. Okay.
Snakes about X.
How did he know where Soleil's father was?
Yeah.
Does he have some kind of magic that lets him like peer into the spiritual realm to figure it out? Does he like because he lives under the sea, like, and I don't think he would have like a network of informants or whatever and just happen to know that piece of information.
it's very clear that he has different magics because, like, he awakens, right? Like, it's very obvious that he does that. Which, what a great little reference. That's like, I know what that is. Cool. So I could definitely see him having enough investiture that, like, kind of like if you get enough of a shard's power, you can sort of peer into the future, or like he might be able to have some sort of like, I'm reading through connections in the spiritual realm. There's a lot of different paths of weird magical crap that they have. Maybe dragons inherently have some future sight potentially. Like that's a potential thing. These are probably some of the most magical beings that are not directly related to a shard, right? So.
And like he might have a magic computer that like look into that just like interfaces with the spiritual realm, and he can look up information.
That's a good. That's actually very plausible. It's like
I'm going to
an extent,
this on the spiritual realm.
Yeah, I spiritually Googled it. To be fair, I can totally believe a device like that exists in the future, Cosmere. Yeah.
I have a more mundane explanation potentially.
Okay.
And it goes back to the idea that he is Foil, and Foil is interested in controlling the aethers.
Yep.
And we see Xisis physically control the spores because as Crow and Tress descend into his realm, like he shifts the spores around to like open a stairway down to where he is. And so if he actually has control over the spores and over the aethers, maybe there is enough of a bond or enough of a connection there for him to like see anywhere where there are like farsight, essentially, right?
Sure.
And that would allow him to like see everything on the planet.
I think these are several plausible means. Certainly, we have no idea how he's actually doing this, which would be a great question for a stream. But
come on, spiritual Google.
It's very, very plausible.
If only we could ask spiritual Google.
Yeah. Spiritual Google. Skoogle. That's what Skoogle. Obviously, we're kind of holding off on talking about the aethers in depth.
Yeah.
But I did need to make a shout out. Midnight Essence, hello. You're over here. That is very interesting. Given Roshar and the 10 deaths and Ray Shafir and things like that, I'm not entirely sure how these are connected. Like, presumably the Aether existed first, right?
There's a wob about this.
And maybe they're copying that. Like the Unmade is copying that style of thing.
The Aethers represent the primal elements of the Cosmere.
Sure. Red spikes.
So Midnight Essence is a primal element of the Cosmere. Like,
I guess.
Yeah. So like it's like they're like, I don't think, because I've talked to some people and like I think this is David, is like, oh, Reshafir is a corrupted Midnight Aether. I'm like, I hate that idea, quite honestly. I want this to be a separate origin for Midnight Essence.
Can I read the wob? This wob, I'm going to have to talk around some things.
Because it's
Brandon
a Secret Project
does
3 thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Brandon does say that the Midnight Essence thing was done intentionally, and it's kind of similar to how light weaving shows up on different planets in different ways, but similarly. So you have like Yoler's light weaving and Roshan light weaving, and apparently now maybe Elatria Aeonic light weaving.
To be fair, we've known about Aeonic making illusions since Elantris. That's not new. Yeah. You would just call it light weaving.
Here are my crazy Midnight Essence. Right, ready?
Yeah.
So we know Rithmatist was originally planned as a Cosmere thing.
Whoa!
I think Midnight Essence and the evil Shocklings have like similar origins.
Hold up.
Right?
I am context switching so hard in my brain right now.
Go through more of those
Like,
connection neurons.
The chocolate. So it's been a while since I've read Rithmatist, so like I might be getting, but like the Chalklings, I think are similar in that they are like beings that can kind of take different forms and seem to have like a hint of like malevolence, want to like feed on humans in some way.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
but like
it's
they
the
can also
Forgotten,
feed,
I think.
yeah, the Forgotten. But like they can also like the good Chalklings can be like shaped by the people. I don't know. I feel like if nothing else, they kind of have like similar mechanic origin.
Honestly, I think
Why?
that might just be an artifact. I don't know the timeline exactly, but that might just be an
He
artifact of
wrote
the time.
Scribbler
It was written-
2007.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Rithmatist, Aether of Night. Like
I think
they
Aether of
I don't
Night
think
was
they're
earlier.
that far away.
But
Yeah, Aether of Night was definitely far earlier. 'Cause
Yeah.
Midnight Essence do show up as an Aether in, and so it's like, but like they're not called Midnight Essence. So like a while back, Brandon like revealed that. It's like, oh, so like that's something Brandon cannibalized from Aether of Night for Roshar. Oh, fun. Nope. It's an Aether
Still an
again.
Aether. Also, for everyone, if you were listening to the audio, go to YouTube and go to when Grace was saying that and just watch Evgeni. Just, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It is so good. Maybe I need to make a clip
that
of it.
into a
You're-
gift.
I think when we find out that Midnight Essence are like creatures that live in the spiritual realm, which is like similar to what Brandon has said the idea for like Chalklings are, you're gonna
For
come
the
back
shadow
and
blazes.
say,
The shadow
that,
blazes.
I was right, yeah.
You didn't expect deep Rithmatist lore in this episode.
And like
I don't expect it in any episode, really.
the Forgotten are like look like they're made of charcoal, so they're dark and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
convincing you, Ian. I can feel
no,
it.
you're
But
not.
they
I
forgot
hate
it.
this. It's just like there is technically some support.
Nice. Very good. Yeah, I guess I just need more information about what these primal elements are, because one of the
Yeah.
primal elements is red spikes, and I'm a little confused about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, the primal
how-
element of red spikes. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Like I can see I mean, we've seen how Rosite works, like when they're bonded to someone
Sure.
in
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
with Twin Soul, and I can see how Verdant would work,
Yeah.
and like, maybe even Zephyr, rather working flying into a magic system again.
Mhm.
And Sunlight, like those all make sense, but the spikes, like how, like if
Yeah.
somebody is bonded to the Aether, like the equivalent of Silajana, but for Crimson.
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah, you
does
just-
it
you just-
mechanically work? Like
You just
No,
shoot
you just
spikes.
Spikes of yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems very
Like the
useful in combat.
Somebody
The same.
please ask Brandon what primal element is represented by long pointy red spikes.
It's
It's
like
the
I'm-
primal element
We
of red
need
spikes.
to be able to talk about this.
like, yeah, I just magically I want to know what's going on with Midnight Essence. Like, if anything, light weaving, that makes sense to me, right? But like, these Midnight Essences are creatures, and also like if they're from Aethers, and the Aethers, are they from Maiden Alcium? Are they not from Maiden Alcium? I know this is a massive can of worms for an Aether episode. I know. Like, how's this work? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how did the unmade? How were the unmade formed? And all of this. Also, what are the other 10 deaths? You know, remember when the Midnight Essence was revealed in Way of Kings? It's like, oh, it's one of the 10 deaths. 4 books in, no more deaths. No, nothing. Why is it 10, not 9? Who knows? I'm
Yeah.
gonna be grumpy about that one. But
Uh,
the Midnight Essence was extremely
the
cool.
the other 9 deaths are the 9 children that the Lord ruler had with Lutha.
You know, Digonarthus just is really good at throwing red spikes, actually. Like, fun fact, he just loves red spikes.
Who doesn't?
So there's a lot of Aether related questions I have, and Midnight Essence related
Same.
questions I have.
I want to share a wild idea that we arrived at during the Inking Out Loud recording.
Okay. All right.
Which of the two?
So you haven't listened to the second episode. You don't know what we talked about.
No, it hasn't come out yet. I don't think Drew has edited it because that's what he said last
because
time.
we
He had to sit
recorded
down
it
and edit
yesterday.
it today.
So I want to talk about bone spores.
Okay.
I will preface this by saying I have no idea why they would be called bone spores, because that suggests feign to me. However, I have seen, rightfully so, that people in the community have latched onto the idea that, oh, these spores might be white, might be black, points
White sand.
very reasonably in the direction of white sand.
Yep.
And so we were riffing off of that during yesterday's recording. For kicks and giggles, I was exploring the idea of, well, what if white sand is an aether, right? How will that work?
Jeez. Okay.
Honestly, I've seen that theory floating around.
Yeah. Like I'm not the first one to come up with this, right? How will that work? Well, what aethers do is you give them water, and they give you something back. Sure. You give water to Verdant and you get vines. You give it to Midnight, you get Midnight Essence.
There is certainly a water aspect. You do have to use the water for sand mastery. So there's
a Luhel bond going on somehow.
Yeah. And so we were going over like all of the effects of white, like the sand itself. It's not special. It's the microflora that lives in there. And so what we know, I think we learned this from the omnibus specifically, is that if you pour a little bit of water onto white sand, I think we are told that the lichen expands or grows. I think it says grows, which I choose to interpret as it spreads to like nearby sand, right?
Sure.
It reproduces.
Sure.
So we know that. We know that if you pour water onto charged sand, it releases investiture. We see Chris do an experiment where she does that, and it like emits this mother of pearl illumination, right? And we don't see that most of the time because they do sand mastery in daylight, and it's difficult to see. The thing that got me thinking the most was when a sand master masters the sand, what are they doing? Like, they're not mastering the sand itself, right? They're not slinging
the microflora
sand around. It's, as I see it, they are holding on to actual sand ribbons, but they're holding them with investiture. So they are like investiture, not necessarily tubes, right? But they're holding the sand together. And when they touch and when they interfere, that cancels the investiture, and then the sand falls to the ground dead.
Almost like an investiture current along the sand, kind of sort of thing.
Yeah.
Either a current or like a sheath, like one of these.
Sure.
But the current, I think, is a better analogy. And so it made me wonder, what if the lichen that lives on the white sand is like an investiture aether? So the same way we have Verdant and Rose and Midnight, we have investiture. Because you pour water onto Verdant, you get vines. You pour water onto white sand, you get investiture. When Tress is controlling Verdant through the Luhel bond that she forms with it, she's able to control the little vine, or the big vine in the case of the Crimson Rain.
Right.
When a sand master masters the sand, they are controlling a stream of investiture to do their bidding.
Yeah.
Okay. When you put it more like that rather than just the investiture aether, like that.
Well, you gotta have a headline.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it probably has a name that isn't investiture aether, but
the red spikes.
Red spikes. The essence of red spikes.
Primal element.
So that's kind of the idea that I arrived at. And Lauren, one of the other people on the podcast, and Drew's wife, suggested that maybe, if that is the case, what if that is why autonomy has closed off Taldane.
That.
What do you mean by that?
Because, well, if you can so easily access investiture there, if you just need to gather some sand and pour some water onto it, she's like, I don't want other people to have access to this weapon.
Possibly, but like white sand is already out into the Cosmere and can be.
Yeah, it's not like you're dumping water on it and grabbing the investiture. Like maybe you need to, maybe like it's being charged with autonomy's investiture, and so not anyone can use it. But maybe in the aether version of it, it doesn't have that problem because it's not charged from the autonomy sun, right?
Oh, if you can charge it with like any investiture.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, doesn't Navani do that? Like she charges it with Stormlight in Rhythm of War?
Yeah. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about on our Aether episode. Maybe 2 episodes for all I know, and maybe this is honestly getting me more excited for a White Sand Omnibus episode, which will also come out in the next few months. It's like, ooh. I thought we could do it without spoilers for new stuff, but apparently I feel like that might not be the case. Never.
I don't know, maybe that Aether, if it is an Aether, is like the true like opposite to like the Midnight one, because I assumed it was the Sunlight Aether, like the one from the fuses, if that's its name. But maybe it's this if it actually is an Aether, because that feels more like truly opposed to Midnight than the Sunlight one does, at least in terms of power. I don't know.
They feel opposed in the sense that they are weird.
Yeah, it's like I don't think there are going to be opposites really in terms of the Aether. And if there's 13 Aethers, they're not all of them can have opposites.
Yeah. What's the opposite of red spikes?
Blue.
No idea.
Shields.
Yeah,
balls.
Blue shields. Yeah, blue balls.
Blue pillows.
You guys all thought about it. When I heard bone aether, I was just like, oh, cool. It can like make you warp your bones and like look like it's a cool mod.
Yeah, to be fair though.
I was just like, bone aether, that's what that does, clearly.
It could just generate skull moss as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like I'm still in skull moss camp. Well, it's like I
like both theories.
That. Because like for the record, I don't think this bone aether is actually an aether. It's just like it has like superficial like similarities, so like people are like wondering, but like I think the symmetry of the 12 aethers like is a thing.
And there's not a 13th moon, right? So like the bone aethers, the bone spores must be weird, right? And not come from the whatever lunagree, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. The Aether episode is going to be so much fun.
Yes, indeed.
It's gonna be so much something for sure.
Yeah. Red spikes for sure. Cool. So obviously there's a lot to talk about. Like just so much. We are not going to be for want of podcast ideas, everyone. That will not be challenging after this year at all. But one thing that we didn't touch on is the audience. Who is Hoyd talking to? And wasn't there like something talking about like in part 6
ruling the world without an AVR?
Well, there was another line near the end.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it was.
Like about the computer, that there was like something talking that.
Oh,
like the ships, like the voices in the ships.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't. What does that mean? What?
Has the Cosmere developed AI? I don't know.
I mean, AI would be very easy for the Cosmere to develop. You just said investiture get sentience, right? So that's not that weird. Is that AI for... Arcanists will differ on that, I'm sure. But,
it's naturally occurring, so it's not artificial. So
yeah. So like, what are the talking ships? What was the first of the sun thing that you were referring to, Evgeni?
So Hoyd is talking about the kind of story that people expect here, and he's like, oh, you may have he's talking about the protagonist, right? You may have expected a story about someone like Linji who traveled around the world without an AVR.
Oh, okay.
Is what he says.
Yeah, and there
Which-
are a couple
which
of other
is-
things.
Hmm.
Yeah, that hint at
That one and the speaking the spirits within the ships or whatever it was
Yeah.
are to me like super strong indications that he's talking to like people from First of the Sun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and
AVR
I would
thing.
agree
the
with that.
seafaring theme.
Yeah.
There's something else I'm forgetting.
And that would fit with if animal familiars are a thing.
Oh,
AVRs aren't that different to, like, obviously, I mean, there might be a type of AVR that can talk, but like,
Mhm.
that would be something that I think people on the world with AVRs would accept as a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, like that.
Mhm.
That's that. It, from a storytelling perspective, Hoyd's telling it to them because that would make sense to them. Yeah. Okay. I still don't understand like the ship thing, because that doesn't seem very Skadrian to me. You know. But there could be lots of different kinds of ships.
It could be a Roshoran ship with a spren as some
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
Spren ship.
I don't know.
Sure.
Personified ships is
Shard-
also a
shard
ship I
ship.
really
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
include that.
Why not just awaken an entire spaceship or something and it's a Nalthian ship? Who knows? Clearly, Awakening can do quite a lot more once the tech is really advanced.
We are also at a place in the Cosmere timeline where it is possible that multiple magic systems, multiple people, multiple cultures are coming together to like produce things. So we might see, Scadrians with like awakened tech and Fabrial tech
sure.
on their spaceships, right?
Absolutely. That's totally true, right? I did forget about that AVR line. So like, that's a strong indication, I would say.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know we've sort of blazed through like a trillion things. There'll be more eventually. We got a lot of books coming out. But any final thoughts right now on Tress?
I did have one.
Yes.
So I read the afterword. I don't know if anyone else in this call did. But in the afterword, it said the original idea had kites pulling the ships. Do we think this is the like children's kite magic book Brandon has talked
Maybe.
about?
I feel like the kites have gotten into a lot of different settings and he's wanted to try and make it work and never could. I feel
it
like
hasn't worked.
Yeah, because like kite magic was going to be a Hoyd apprentice story, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I feel like it was going to be a non-human one. I think the Wob
Yeah.
I think so.
hinted at that.
Yeah. But that's at least my theory, that Brandon's trying to make the kite magic work, and this was
He's just shoving it into whatever setting.
yeah,
he
it's like
thinks
maybe I can
work.
get it to work here. Maybe. Yeah.
I have two final thoughts. One is my absolute favorite line in the book. It's the best one. A jaw so straight it made other men question if they were. Such a good line. Like, you know exactly what that looks like in your mind.
It's really good.
Yeah. And then the other one is my most Brandon, what are you talking about? Line, which is like Ulam is talking about like, oh, he's telling you to locate a familiar. It's like powerful users of investiture, magic if you prefer, are often associated with talking animals. Where?
I think that's just a combination of like Vin with Tensoon and people having AVRs and
Yeah,
like
AVRs don't talk.
Not yet.
maybe one type can. We don't know. Maybe
like,
there's a connection AVR
talking
that can like,
Spren
talk
there?
in whatever language that the other people hear.
I
Spread
feel
talk.
like the choice of often is a big ask. It's like sometimes associated with talking animals, but often.
The future of the Cosmere is going to be wild.
And apparently David is going to hate it.
Yes, because he doesn't like that.
I would like to use my final thought to give a shout out to the best dad in the Cosmere, Lem,
Yes.
for being caring and understanding, and also going on and doing some advanced fathering in chapter 6 or 7 or whatever it was. 10 out of 10, good dad, S tier.
That's true.
And Charlie can now spend time with some much needed time with a good parent, at a good father figure at the end of the book.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Other final
my
thoughts?
final thought would be that between this and the Lost Metal, I think people are finally starting to appreciate Elantrian magic, because
that's true.
anyone I talked to about it before, you'll hear me rant about this on the podcast frequently, and particularly in coming episodes once we start covering Stormlight, because just constant argument with Cal about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's so versatile. It's so powerful. Like, with an Elantrian that can either get away from the geographic thing or on their home turf, they will beat practically any other magic user in the Cosmere. And I'm glad we finally see proof of that. And I felt incredibly vindicated by these two books.
With
I've
enough
been insisting
preparation.
on that for ages.
I mean, I think the caveat with enough time to prepare, I think like Kelsier can shove a coin between Elantrian's eyes or in their head before they have time to finish drawing.
Not without Allomancy he can't, but I see your point.
Kelsier in his prime. Before he was a has-been who now just goes around creating cults.
I gotta talk to you about.
Is still a pretty big limitation. Yeah. But I don't know. I think people they're always like, "Oh, Mistborn versus Radiance," or like all these other magic systems, and they always neglected Elantris, and at least now it's in the conversation. So I'm glad.
Sure is.
Makes me excited for Elantris sequels. Let's see someone who actually has practice doing Aeon Door rather than 5 minutes of just drawing stuff in the air.
I gotta tell you guys about how I think Aeon Door is like Hemorrhagy sometime.
Okay, cool. That for another time.
Okay.
Yeah. Not now.
Great. Well, why don't we go on to who's that Cosmere character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for who's that Cosmere character? Caw.
All right, everyone. You know how the game is played. You send 5 clues with the character that those clues correspond to wtcc at 17shard.com. I read each clue aloud, and after each one, our panelists will have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. Let's begin. So this first one was sent in by Hexagonal. Clue 1. This character is from Roshar.
Kaladin.
Why did I guess that was going to be the first clue?
Mm-hmm.
Navani.
It's not Navani.
Raboniel.
It is not Raboniel.
Yalb.
It is not Yalb.
Nice. I like
Clue
that.
2. This character is a point of view character.
Oh. Mem.
It is not Mem.
Next one. Yeah, I'm also going with an interlude character, Syl.
It is not Syl.
Yeem.
It is not Yeem.
Who's Baxil?
It is not
all interlude characters.
Yeah, no, you got to get the most obscure Rosharan viewpoints here. That's right.
Clue 3. This character swears by a god.
Oh, that's not helpful at all.
That's literally everyone.
Taft.
It is not Taft.
Sen.
It is not Sen.
Nice.
Deep cut.
Yeah.
The Bavland interlude character. is that specific enough?
Oh, yeah.
The in that Zeth interlude, the Bavland one. No, wait, but that wouldn't be a viewpoint.
Yeah, but that was a
Zeth's
Zeth
viewpoint.
POV.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Oh shoot. God, why are the names just escaping me?
Swears by a god. Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Shallan's brother who tears the creatures apart, who has the accent. That guy.
Oh, what's his name?
It's not Shallan's brother.
Yeah. Okay.
Non-Bala.
Yeah, I was like, God, it starts with a B. I know it starts with a B.
I was like, wait, that's the W one. Oh my god, I had somebody in my mind that I forgot. Let's just go long-hanging fruit, Adolin.
It is not Adolin. Clue 3. This character has met world hoppers.
Ishik.
It is Ishik.
Okay, nice. Yeah, okay.
And clue 5 was this is an interlude character.
Nice. Yeah, we knew that. Yeah, we do.
I was trying to make deft work.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Kellex breath.
I guessed deft.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
When?
Yeah, the last clue.
After like the swears by a god, I guess theft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was trying to think if there was like somebody who swears adjacent, like physically adjacent to someone considered a god, and I'm like, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ishik's good.
This was sent in by Archangel on the forum.
Nice.
Clue 1. This character uses investiture.
Hoyd.
It is not Hoyd.
Nightblood.
It is not Nightblood.
It's true. It's true.
Raoden.
It is not Raoden.
Rai, no.
It is not Rai, no.
I am annoyed how similar those names are. Can I just point that out?
Do we think they're like siblings, by the way?
Maybe. Sure.
I was like, are they related?
I want them to be twins.
Elantrian twins.
That would be
Sure. Sure.
good.
Yeah, that's my headcanon too. I like it. Cool.
Clue 2. This character has a happy disposition.
Who's happy?
Who's happy in the Cosmere?
Yeah.
Well, that limits it a lot.
It really does. It makes you think.
Rock.
It is not Rock.
Siri.
It is not Siri.
That's true. Sil?
Oh my god.
It's not
Okay, I have a
Phil.
guess. I hope it works.
Did the
for
spread
next
use
time.
the investiture?
Would you say Adolin uses investiture when he summons Maya?
Can try it and see.
I'm trying to think of happy people in the Cosmere, and I'm having trouble.
Surprisingly hard.
Oh, Lopin?
It is not Lopin.
Oh, that's a good guess right there.
I hope my guess holds for next clue.
Clue 3. This character has a bond.
Oh god.
Oh my god. I don't know if my thing works.
Oh, what's her name?
No.
Ian, are we thinking of the same character?
I don't know, you'll find out.
The Will Shaper from Rhythm
we're
of
not.
War that goes on the expedition. Like Zoo? Like,
yeah, her name is Zoo.
The Stone War.
She's
but yeah.
a Stoneward, yeah.
oh, Stoneward, yeah.
It is not Zoo.
Um,
One thing.
the name escapes me, but like the other character in Sixth of the Dusk, not Sixth, but like the woman
Vathi?
explorer.
Vathi.
It is
Vathi,
not
yeah.
Vathi. It is not Vathi.
Yeah, because I was going to guess to Sebron, but the bond thing.
Yeah, could be that person.
Is bonded to his breath.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't. I don't think. Or like
He's
his wedding
bound
bond
by marriage.
theory. Yeah, I was like, no, that's too much of a stretch.
I have a guess.
God, I absolutely don't. I'm gonna pass. Like I'm totally lost. Cursed Grace hosting and making me do this again.
That's the real reason you wanted to do one.
I mean, I don't know.
No.
Okay,
I'll do the
this
next
is
one.
technically on the uses, because I don't know if uses counts, but Risen?
It is not Risen. Clue 4. This character has a highly desired talent.
Alcatraz. Happy disposition, has a bond, highly desired talent.
What was the other one?
What was the first one?
Uses
Uses
investiture.
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 Oh, okay.
Rushu?
It is not Rushu.
Highly desired.
This is hard.
Yeah, this one's really hard.
I can't have my bookshelves to look at this time.
I know. Evgeni does, though.
What are even highly desired talents in the Cosmere?
I'm still like hung up on happy disposition.
I know, me too. Like that ruins
Happy
everything.
disposition and has a bond, like the combination of
I
those
know.
two.
I'm trying to think of people with Sion bonds, you know?
Yeah.
I
will
almost
say,
guessed
I
a
did-
Sion.
I did fact check Happy Disposition. I didn't check the books, but Happy Disposition is exact Coppermind wording.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Because I was like, I feel like I've used some terms, but that makes no sense with the bond thing or uses investiture or highly desired talent. Yeah, I'm sure I use similar words to describe Max, but none of the other clues work, so I'm not going to guess him.
I don't know what a highly desired talent might be.
Yen.
It is not Ian.
No, Tien.
Wait, oh, Tien. It's not Tien. I just assumed that there was some Aeon named Ian that you were referencing.
That's what I did
No.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is not
That's
Tien.
Ayin. Aeon Aishi. I mean,
It's
not
not
the Aeon,
Aeon
Sion Aishi.
It is not. It is not the Sion Aishi.
I think I'm just going to pass because I can't think
This
of
is
anything.
really hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Clue 5. This character can fly.
With Brandon's magic system, that doesn't really even narrow it down that much.
Oakley.
It is Cokerly.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay.
The bird.
Yeah.
Antics of the Dusk.
Well, I was hopeless on this one, so that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know why my mind kept turning to White Sand, and I'm like, wait, does any of the characters have happy disposition? But the bond thing, just I was like, no, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's a little hellbound.
Oh, well, bond.
Yeah. It's true. All
But they
right.
wouldn't know that to send this question.
Yeah, they wouldn't know
no,
that.
they wouldn't. Cool. This last one is from our Who's That Cosmic Character priority queue, and you can for as little as $10 a month, you can submit things toward the priority queue and get them read eventually, sooner than the regular one. That's for sure.
A lucrative proposition.
Cool.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to take us to get to secret project things. But it's going to be just a huge margin of new characters.
Yep.
Guess with that.
This one
That's
is
metal.
from Cyprian Wiley. Clue 1. This character lies.
Raiden.
It's not Raiden.
Paul.
And it's not Palm.
Shalon.
It's not Shalon.
Hoyd.
It's not Hoyd. Clue 2. This character smiles.
This definitely wants us to get Shalon, but we already did. So.
Yeah, you already did.
No, it's like wanting us to guess Kelsier, but I refuse.
Nice.
I don't like the second clue.
Ruin.
It's not Ruin.
I don't know, Kaladin.
It's not Kaladin.
Mraze.
It's not Raze.
Okay, I'm just going to get him out of the way, Kelsier.
It's not Kelsier. Clue 3. This character claims to have a secret weapon.
Oh.
Secret weapon. Secret weapon.
It's like I'm getting caught up on the smiles. So I feel like most characters smile in passing, but I feel like it has to be core to their character.
Also, now I think this was clearly pointing us in Kelsier's direction, but we also got that out of the way.
Lopen.
It's not Lopen.
Teravangian.
It's not Teravangian.
Oh, that's a good one.
Not happy about it.
Blushweaver.
It's not Blushweaver.
I'm gonna last. Oh.
That was a
White
good guess.
ale brewed with orange peel, lemon peel, and coriander.
Coriander Court.
You mean that cilantro beer?
The claim to have a secret weapon is what's tripping me up.
Yeah. That's not surprising.
I don't know, I'm not happy with this, but Light Song, I guess?
It's not Light Song.
I don't know.
Clue 4. This character is young.
I'm gonna start ignoring clues.
Okay. All right.
No, I mean, that totally gets rid of the clue. And I was like, there's no way the thing I was thinking of counts as young. Like, even if we go, like, what does count as young in the grand scheme of Cosmere?
Everyone's
Like, I
compared
don't think...
young.
Yeah.
Compared to Hoyd.
What does it mean to be young?
Elend? Maybe
not
you can
Elend.
say a secret
It's not
weapon
Elend.
is vain.
Lift.
It's not Lift.
Tien.
It's not Tien.
I don't know what a secret weapon would be, but maybe something in passing to Kaladin.
Yes.
We guessed lift.
Yeah.
Gox.
Nope. Clue 5. This character did not return from a journey on a ship.
Y'all.
Nope. There will be a sixth
The
clue,
only thing
by
I
the
can
way.
think of right now is Tress.
There will be a bonus clue.
Obviously, it's not going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of Sally, but
There will be a bonus clue.
Even Ian is stumped.
Might be ignoring some of the clues. But Raythan?
It's not Raythan.
very much not young.
He's not young.
He's not. Yeah, he's not young, but
I mean,
I
I
don't
feel
know.
you.
I'm stumped. I have no idea what this could be.
Smiles, lies, young.
The ship.
Oh, what was the exact wording of the last one?
This character did not return from a journey on ship.
So did they not return from the journey, or did they not return on the ship and maybe they walked home?
Who knows?
They did not return from the journey. How about that?
I didn't expect to give. I would not have given a
Oh,
clarification.
of course you know.
Well, no, you.
Eric is nicer than you. Then.
Yeah.
We can bully him more.
Yeah. Want to be helpful, you know? Kind of.
Kenton.
It's not Kenton.
Oh, is this Vathi?
It's not Vathi. Clue 4, or sorry, bonus clue 6 is this character is from one of the secret novels.
Oh my god, are you kidding me?
Charlie.
Not
It is Charlie. Yay! This was sent in April, and I've been waiting for so long to do this one. Yay! And obviously, they can only use the Charlie stuff in the first chapters. Yeah, they sorry for the very long wait.
3 for 3.
Usually, the priority queue comes
yeah.
faster, but in this specific case, I had to wait till the book
I
came
was
out.
like, it
I
couldn't
felt
have
so
been that
confident
fast.
that I got it with Vathi at the end,
Yeah.
with like her secret stuff from the spaceship. And
Yeah, no, that is good. Except it's from Charlie, and so
It's a good one.
that was good. That was good because you're like, there's no way it could be Tress stuff.
Yeah, I kept thinking about this. I was like, how could this be Tress? Like, yes, it's priority queue. Those come faster, but there are other things on the priority queue.
Yeah,
I just came out a week ago.
This has been the first one on the priority for a long time that I'm just like, I'll wait till the Tress episode. Then I will definitely do this on the Tress episode. And see, when it's too new, you think that it's just been so far back that it can't possibly be a new character.
I mean,
There's been preview chapters.
But like as soon as we know it's an option.
Yep. Gotta keep your eyes open. All right.
But now I'm wondering if Cyprian Riley's on Discord.
Yep. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find us on 17chart.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. We also have a great Discord server with tons of people, a lot of talk on things, plenty of new books coming out. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, subscribe on YouTube. You can leave us a review on iTunes, and you can support our Patreon for as little as $1. There will be... I think our next art poll will be Tress things, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
if you are a patron during the first week of February, you will get to vote on a Tress piece for us to commission.
Yep. That said, they posted the art from this book, so we can actually put it on the Coppermind, which is very nice.
Including the dragon with weird legs.
Yeah.
Loading the dragon with the weird legs.
Yeah. Still don't have the Lost Metal art up, but hey.
Lost Metal doesn't even have a section on the website.
Nope. Cool. And yeah, we'll see you all next time for either. So this is what's going to happen next. Either there will have been a Tress spoiler Q&A live stream, in which case we will definitely do that, or our next episode will be an Aether episode.
Okay.
So it will be one of those two. I imagine Brandon will be doing the spoiler streams for these secret projects, but
When?
yeah,
The question is when.
Yeah, I don't know.
It might not be this coming week. It might be after.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see. So we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
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 Peace. Caw.